Members, please be seated. We now move on to the next item, capital injection of $10 billion to Hong Shui Industrial Park Company Limited. Over to you, Secretary, for introduction. Well, a few months ago, we set up the Hong Shui Industry Park Company Limited, and we have also allocated 23 hectares of land for the park after approval by the CE in Council. And after the discussion of this panel, we will proceed to the Finance Committee to seek funding approval. I'll ask my Deputy Secretary to brief members. As the Secretary has said, we have done a lot of preparation for this Hong Shui Industry Park Company Limited. The incorporation process for the park company has been carried out, and with the approval of the Executive Council, 23 hectares of land will be allocated to the industry park. And the Development Bureau is also taking forward other preparations, such as the appointment of the Board of Directors and the appointment of or the recruitment of the Chief Executive Officer, so that it can be up and running in the middle of the year. And today, we are here to consult members on the provision of startup capital of $10 billion to the park company. There are four objectives. We want to capitalize on the location advantage of Hong Shui for a good transport network and proximity to Shanghai. And we also want to create a master plan for the development of the park and build the infrastructure, and also to adopt flexible approaches to attract investment and corporations to land in the park. And also we want to promote the development of moving up the value chain by corporations. In attracting investors, we have sound out the industry, and we have come to understand that there are corporations involved in high value-added production or intelligent production, such as pharmaceuticals and food industries, as well as advanced construction industry, which have indicated interest. And we may in the future allocate land around the park to promote diversification of development and to tie in with the university town in the promotion of academia industry collaboration. As I've said, the Executive Council has approved the allocation of 23 hectares for the park company for a period of 50 years at nominal premium. And we are already embarked on the rezoning process, so that the 23 hectares of land will have more flexibility in allowing different production processes in the different stages of the development, such as accreditation, conventional exhibition, etc. The park company has already got 8 hectares of so-called spade-ready land, for which further construction can be carried out immediately. And there will be a plan on charting the future direction of development. In the longer term, the park company should go for more private-public partnerships so that it can become self-financing through the collection of rent and other income. The park company would be able to support its day-to-day operation as well as future development. The park company is not just the landowner, the leasing properties to tenants. Instead, we want this to be a development area where one-stop and high-value added professional services are provided. For the startup capital of $10 billion, we have devised 3 major areas of Deputy Secretary, please speak closer to the mic. In the first stage, for the 8 hectares of land, the park company would develop the land on its own at the plot ratio of 3.5. So altogether, 185,000 square meters of GFA for industry can be provided, and it's estimated to be at a value of $8.8 billion. And for the remaining 2.6 hectares of the spade-ready land, the park company would recruit interested businesses to construct their own factories. And some part of that can be used to accommodate brownfield site operations affected by the development of the park. As for the high-value added support services, we need to reserve $800 million for the acquisition of software, hardware, and facilities. And at the initial stage, the park company may not have sufficient resources to pay for the operational costs, such as remuneration of staff, business development, and other operating expenditure. So for the first 5 years, $400 million will be reserved for this purpose. We'll ask the park company to come up with a comprehensive development plan for the government, including KPIs, and also some of the policies may be adjusted in response to submission of plans by the park company. To ensure transparency, there will be regular annual reports made to the Legislative Council on the operational and financial situations of the park company. We hope that by injecting $10 billion, we would inject an impetus for further development. We have make up some estimation on the financial contribution. For the first stage, direct and indirect, as well as consequential, annual contribution would amount to $3.9 billion, and 4,100 local jobs can be created. As for the full operation stage of the 23 hectares of land, then annually the contribution would amount to $11 billion, directly or indirectly or consequentially, as well as 11,900 local jobs. The preparation is pressing ahead in earnest, and with members' support, the next stage will involve seeking $10 billion of funding approval from the Finance Committee, and then we would proceed to the appointment of the Board of Directors and the recruitment of the Chief Executive Officer. And of course, the recruitment of investors will continue. 7 members would like to speak. Ms. Christine Long, Mr. Chong Ho Fong, Mr. Tam Chen Kwok, Mr. Lam Chen Sing, Ms. Kwok Fu Yung, Mr. Lau Kah Keung, and Mr. Andrew Lam. 3 minutes for each member. Ms. Christine Fong, I would like to thank the Bureau for the briefing and the plan to inject $10 billion into the Hong Shui Kiu Industry Park Company Limited. The Executive Council is actively supporting the recruitment of investors and businesses. And 8 hectares of the land is the so-called spade-ready land. So apart from the utilities, have you also got the other utility services ready, such as internet access, etc., and underground trunking of data services? And also you want to cover port services, tests and accreditations, and also some brownfield operations. You have engaged a consultancy firm. Have they come up with a model as to the share of different sectors? Or have you collected information that certain businesses have a certain percentage of presence in the current occupation proportion? Yeah, and you're going to expect $11 billion and thousands of jobs will be created. I hope the Bureau can come up with more details for us. And of course, when you go to the Finance Committee, you're asking for quite a big sum. What about the KPIs for PPP? You have to submit reports. How much flexibility can be allowed to your private sector partners? Chairman, we visited Shanghai some time ago, and I know Tencent has now been attracted to this park. What about other investors? And would you go to the Southeast Asia for promotion? Is there interest expressed by large corporations there? Well, you have got 15 seconds left. Please be succinct. 8 hectares out of the 23 are spade-ready land, and how ready are they? And we have engaged a consultancy firm for the study. Well, now we have set up a park company, industry park company, and we have allocated 23 hectares of land to the company. It's not possible for the government to dictate that how much of the land would be for a particular industry. Well, what we are doing is to go to the town planning board to ask for rezoning permission so that a variety of different industries, modern industrial parks would normally accommodate, would be able to be located there. Indeed, a number of corporations have expressed interest, although we are still recruiting the Chief Executive Officer. But the Development Bureau is already talking to interested businesses. Of course, the information involved is commercially sensitive. We cannot really tell you which companies are in the discussion, but it will be published in due course. For the 8 hectares, they are farmland, spade-ready. It can be used for immediate development. We have engaged a consultancy firm for financial analysis. It's their specialty, and they have experience in researching into industrial parks.
Mr. Chang Ho Fong, The paper proposes an injection of $10 billion, but I can see that $8.8 billion was already spent, and we have also other costs. It seems to add up to $10 billion already, but the government seems to be confident that it will not go over budget. We have, for the $10 billion in the first phase, you will be developing 5.3 hectares. Is it 3 lots, 36, 37, 38 in Annex 2, and you will develop the 2 lots. It becomes 5.3 hectares. If you go over budget, will you develop less in area, or will you ask for more funding from the Legislative Council? We have Invest Hong Kong already, but we have an industry park company trying to attract enterprises to settle in. Are there any overlapping in functions? And who will make the final decision on developing concessionary packages? Thank you. Secretary. Chair, if we are to develop 5.3 hectares of land, it would need $8.8 billion. Why do we have that figure? It is because we have been talking to enterprises. We are able to estimate the needs. But with this, it does not mean we will definitely come back to the LegCo for funding. The $10 billion are a startup capital. As it suggests, it is about starting the establishment. But then in future, with the park company set up, it can borrow money because it has land resources. It is operated as a company, so it can borrow money. They can also rent out premises. They have 23 hectares of land. Some of the land will not be developed by itself. It will grant land to long-term tenants. So as an owner, they can receive land grant income. There's also profit sharing because the park company is operated as a company. So there are other income sources for the company. We will not deploy more resources at will because we expect it to operate on a self-financing basis. We do not have a team at the company at the moment. We only have Invest Hong Kong and OECs working together. In future, we will have a team working with them. There is division of work while they are being interconnected. See, with Invest Hong Kong, people know about Invest Hong Kong, so they may go to Invest Hong Kong first. We will not have Invest Hong Kong say, no, this is under the purview of Development Bureau, please go to them. So there is constant communication between the Development Bureau and the Invest Hong Kong. So especially related to land planning, we will work on that so there is sufficient work. Mr. Tam Chen Kwok, thank you, Chair. We have all along been working to support the government in setting up a Hung Shui Q industry park, and the $10 billion capital injection will help start up nicely, help it provide policy packages to enterprises. I hope these can materialize as soon as possible. I want to ask for the Hotel Corporation Hong Kong Park. We have seen originally funding a location and they have set up a corporation. They have injected, after that, another $10 billion. So it would cost more than $10 billion to set up a park. So I want to ask if the additional funding is required. The secretary also said there is an additional 15 hectares of land to be formed. Does the secretary expect additional funding to be needed for site formation works? I also want to ask what the Bureau's progress is in hiring senior executives for the company. Thank you. Chair, I would like to take this opportunity to answer the question on concessory packages, not only asked by Mr. Tam, but also Mr. Chung. When discussions reach a certain stage, when they understand that enterprises need some sort of support before they are willing to settle in the Northern Metropolis, perhaps if they ask for land premium waivers, and if they don't get that, they won't be moving to the Northern Metropolis. Upon analyses done by the specific bureaus, the application will be handed over to the committee led by the financial secretary to see if the enterprise is worth our particular efforts. The industry park has 23 hectares of land. 15 hectares of land is still being formed. We expect at the end of next year, that is the end of 2027, the site will be formed. According to our estimates today, we do not expect additional funding is needed to form the 15 hectares of land, because the park company already has expectations for costs needed for the 15 hectares of land. They will think about whether they will make use of other income sources or borrow money to cover for that. What about recruitment? We are conducting recruitment for the Chief Executive Officer. In the middle of this year, the park company will commence operations. So we're hoping latest by May, we'll be able to appoint a CEO. Thank you, Mr. Lam Chun Sing. Thank you, Chair. In the past, the government, when they set up statutory corporations or companies, well, in this case, it is not a statutory corporation. There are different ways of financing their operations. There may be funding allocations, or the bodies may have their own incomes. There may also be seed funds. We're injecting $10 billion, and the Secretary seems to be very confident that the park company can operate on a self-financing basis in future. I want to ask, what is the administration's estimates for the income of the company in future? For example, if they're renting out 70% of the space, how much will they get in rent income? Also, the company will be providing high value added services. How much can they receive in charges for the services? We're not trying to generate great profits, but we want to at least have enough profits to cover the costs. Can we achieve break even for the company? I also understand during the presentation or previous discussions, we have the park company not only being the landowner, they will work with enterprises. In this case, can we give more of a free rein to the company to think how they can work with enterprises? Perhaps they can even provide some sort of matching investment, or they will allocate particular resources to the enterprises. Does the company have the flexibility to derive different packages with the enterprises? Thank you. Secretary, I will ask the permanent secretary answer the first question. For the second question, the company definitely has that flexibility. The board of the company will make the decision. As I said earlier, we have 5 bureau secretaries who will be board members. We also have some non-official members on the board. With this structure, because we have so many bureau secretaries on the board, some guidance can be provided for the operations of the park company. Say the company may become shareholders of certain companies, or they can set up subsidiaries, or they can grant land and they can generate profits from that. I guess we'll leave it to the board to verify the profitability of operations. Excuse me, estimations on income? Yes, permanent secretary. As Mr. Lam said, we do not expect to generate exorbitant profits, but we do want the company to operate on a self-financing basis. So that would mean its operating income can cover its operating expenses. Say for the rent they charge, that is rental income, as well as the services they charge for companies. We hope to achieve break-even in this area, and we expect within 10 years we can achieve break-even. All right, Ms. Kwok Foo-young. Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like to express support the administration's approach of setting up a park company to promote integration of the industry, the R&D sector, and the academia in Hongshou-Q and other areas to have a comprehensive ecosystem. But I have some concerns about the provision of the ancillary facilities. With law, we can empower the establishment of a statutory company to more flexibly manage industry parks like the one in Hongshou-Q. I support the government adopting this direction, but with the completion of projects such as Hongshou-Q University Town and with industrial population intake, we will have a significant increase in demand for livelihood services. If we only focus on development of industries and neglect the provision of community services, it is going to be really hard for us to retain or attract mainland and overseas talents. It may even burden the existing community. So I would say if the Bureau has dynamic planning for the development of the industry park, would you consider reserving land in the vicinity or in the industry park itself to have, say, schools or private schools or private hospitals to meet demand for community services? On financing, the government will be injecting $10 billion. $8.8 billion will be used for the construction of facilities. In the paper, it said the park company will be more than owner. It will provide value-added services. under the statutory framework for the park company, as said earlier, it has great powers for attracting enterprises and investment. It can formulate attractive concessionary packages and tax incentives. But I want to ask, what are the differences between the industry park company and the science park or cyberport models? The $10 billion startup capital will be, some part of it will be used for value-added services. Is the provision enough to support a vibrant industrial ecosystem in future? Thank you. 3 questions.
The first question is whether for Hong Shui Q, we're going to have some planning changes to tie with this park company in the attraction of businesses and so on. Well, actually, nowadays, in taking forward NDAs, we do have a lot of flexibility. As we have just discussed the dedicated legislation for Northern Metropolis. Why do we want to go for relaxation and deregulation? That is precisely because we need to make constant adjustments as the development progresses. For this park company project, we have also got a rezoning the application so that more uses can be allowed, such as convention and exhibition, and also apartments for the talent, etc. So that they don't have to seek planning permission in the future for these purposes. For hardware, we have $800 million for the acquisition of software and equipment, including central logistics facilities and accreditation facilities. Well, this is not fixed in stone. We are still working with our consultants to come up with reasonable cost estimates. Earlier on, in the antechamber exchanges with members, members mentioned other services such as screening services, which will be needed by the park company. Well, this will be up to the discussion for the future chief executive officer, etc., with the interested parties. As for the autonomy and to be enjoyed by the park company, I'll defer to my permanent secretary. Well, in attracting investment, the park company does enjoy a lot of freedom. Well, they have 23 hectares of land and a $10 billion startup fund. If enterprises are interested in going to Hong Shui Q, and then land can be allotted with a nominal premium or no premium. Of course, the board of directors will have to be consulted before they decide on the terms. The question is, compared with Science Park, Science and Technology Park, and the Cyberport, how is this one different? Whether we're talking about the Science and Technology Park and the Loop area, they have a heavier element of innovative technology. For Hong Shui Q Park Company, it's not established on the theme of innovation, but rather on advanced production and logistics services. Because this park company, Hong Shui Q Park Company, will be focusing on logistics and advanced and intelligent manufacturing, including pharmaceuticals and construction, robotics, etc. And these will be the main targets in attracting investment and investors. May I now extend the meeting time for 15 minutes by 15 minutes first. Mr. Lau Kaka, the government has set up this fully government-funded Hong Shui Q Park Company Limited so that a PPP approach can be adopted to promote the development of Northern Metropolis. And it's estimated that $10 billion will be invested to support the startup. I support this approach. Here are some questions. Paragraph 11 refers to the consultant's findings, and that is it's estimated $11 billion in financial contribution can be achieved, and then there will be 11,900 local jobs to be created. So the results are very positive. And the park company will have to submit development plans with relevant KPIs included. Will the government refer to the KPIs in assessing the effectiveness of their job? Yes, a simple answer is yes. Since the consultant has come up with these estimated parameters, we will certainly make good use of them. But we cannot really be too specific before it's up and running. It would have to, the park company would come up with a longer term plan with proposed KPIs. If the KPIs cannot be met in the future, then we may impose other requirements as we go along. I have a few questions for clarifications. In answering Ms. Kwok Foo Young's question, the administration said that in comparison with the Cyberport and the Science and Technology Park, that this park company will have a different role. In our earlier discussion on the dedicated legislation, Hong Shui Q is not the only industry park in the Northern Metropolis area. There may be more to come. So in the positioning of this park, industry park, and also the regulation of the use of resources, and also the potential investors to be businesses to be attracted, would there be any overlapping with other park companies in the same area? And would the jurisdiction of this park company be extended to other parks, other areas, and not just confined to the 23 hectares? In terms of efficiency, well, it's more efficient to have one company doing a lot of jobs instead of a number of park companies doing different jobs. Because there might be some overlapping in the scope of their work. And also, this is a non-statutory corporation, but still the board would feature a lot of government presence. So what is the board empowered to? If they are only going to carry out plans devised by the governments or by the financial secretary, is it that the chief executive officer going to be just about finding the suitable investors, etc.? And there's one more question. You talk about the fact that the park company enjoying a lot of flexibility, including granting of longer-term lease. At first, we only talk about 5.3 hectares at the initial stage. in looking forward, if a long lease is granted, would that involve more investment by the relevant enterprises? If you also grant shorter leases, would it facilitate the entry of interested enterprises? Well, the government has already announced the establishment of the Shui Park Company, and also for Shantin Technopole, there will be another park company established. So I would be referring to these two park companies to illustrate whether there is any overlapping of work. Actually, they have different themes and focuses. For Shantin Technopole, it will focus on innovative industries, and it also support the Hong Kong part of Hetao or the Loop area, and they would carry out a lot of R&D and commercial application. For Shui Park Company, as I've said, the focus is not innovation related. It will focus on intelligence manufacturing or advanced manufacturing. So there's no overlapping. There's no overlapping, but it doesn't mean that it will be 100% non-overlapping, because you can refer to a concrete example. If an enterprise knocks on the door of the administration, that it will be interested in doing something on about innovation at industry, but they cannot wait for the allocation from the Shantin Technopark, but they are interested in the infrastructure of Shui Park Company, for example, the presence of a cross-boundary railway line. Would the government turn it away? I don't think so. You would have to look at the needs of the attracted enterprises. So in order to attract businesses to the park company, we have to be flexible. But basically, we don't want the two park companies to compete for the same group of enterprises. We hope that they would have a clear division of labor as far as possible. And you also ask whether there is any consistencies in the nature of enterprises. Well, if we have concessions over, for example, tax concessions, and we're talking about concessions offered by the government, because the tax revenue goes to the government, then we need to have some consistent criteria. And therefore, we may need to come to this council to amend the taxation law. But if we want to offer a lower rent, it will not affect government policy. Then it will be up to the park company to consider. For example, for the commercial talents, if they have they involve a big premise, then they may have different considerations in terms of rent. The park company now has land allocated by the government, and then the park company may sublease the land for different durations. The government will not be so inflexible as to dictate the duration of the lease. That will be up to the board to decide. All right, members, do we support the administration's proposal to submit the financial proposal to the Finance Committee? So agreed. Now let's draw a line and move on to the next item. And this item is a proposed redeployment of one existing permanent post of AO staff grade B1 in the Development Bureau, Planning and Lands Bureau to the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office, and the redeployment of one existing time-limited post of AO staff grade B in the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office to the Development Bureau, Planning and Lands Branch, and B, creation of one time-limited administrative officer staff grade C post in the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office of the Development Bureau, Planning and Lands Branch. C, retention of one time-limited Chief Estate Surveyor post in the Lands Department. And D, retention of two time-limited Chief Engineer posts in the Civil Engineering and Development Department.
I will now ask the Permanent Secretary to give a presentation. Let's save some time. We will not give a PowerPoint presentation. Let me talk about our major proposals. First of all, under the Development Bureau, for the Planning and Lands Planning Division, we have a D4 position, and at the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office, there is a D3 post. So we'll have a redeployment of the two posts without incurring additional costs. We will be able to focus on this future work priority of development of the Northern Metropolis to have a more senior, more experienced official to lead such work. The planning division will be managed by a D3 officer in future. Please rest assured we will not do less. It's just that colleagues will have to work even harder. As the Permanent Secretary, I will give oversight to the work of the planning division. We also want to create a D2 post for 5 years, as we have to develop dedicated legislation for the development of the Northern Metropolis. There's much construction to be done. There are many private projects. We need to adopt diversified land grant models. We also need to promote urban-rural integration. For the 5-year plan for the city, the Northern Metropolis will be an important chapter. So we need an additional D2 officer to help with such work. Now, for departmental posts, for the Lands Department and the CEDD, respectively, one time-limited Chief Estate Surveyor post will be retained. That is a D1 position. For the position in the Lands Department, the officer will be leading their team to make changes. As we will be resuming much land in future, we need a directorate officer to lead the team in clearance of resumed land and disbursement of compensation. We have, for the CEDD, 2 D1 Chief Engineer posts. We propose to retain them for 5 years. One of the chief engineers will be focusing on work in Fanling North. The other chief engineer will be responsible for Santin New Development Area Phase 2, Sampo Shui Wetland Conservation Park, and New Territories North New Town Priority Development Areas Planning. So these are our salient points, Chair. We have 2 members who have pressed the request to speak button. I myself would like to speak as well. Let me first extend the meeting by 30 minutes, if members agree. Mr. Lam Chun Sing. Thank you, Chair. I have some very simple questions. The Permanent Secretary actually touched on this earlier. For the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office post, they will deploy a more senior government officer to the post. And I understand the paper talked much about the development of the Northern Metropolis. Why do we need a more senior government official for the post in the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office? Is it the case that a D3 officer is not enough? Or is it the case that the development of the Northern Metropolis is getting more complex that will need a deputy secretary for leadership? Thank you. Permanent Secretary, thank you, Mr. Lam, for your questions. We do see the work relating to the Northern Metropolis getting more complex. We are preparing dedicated legislation as observed by members. The work involves multiple policy bureaus, so we consider that it is necessary to have someone more experienced and senior to communicate with government officials in other policy bureaus. Also, last year's policy address announced that the chief executive will be heading a steering committee, so the whole work has become more high level. We have the chief executive, the secretaries, as well as undersecretaries leading some of the committee meetings. We want to have a more senior government official to coordinate different departments as well as the work of the Secretariat. As said earlier, under the National 15 5-year plan, we will prepare our own 5-year plan as well. But basically, under the National 15 5-year plan, it says we have to expedite development of the Northern Metropolis. We will therefore need a more senior government official to take a more macro and strategic perspective in leading other officers in such work. Thank you. Mr. Aaron Bach, I also have very simple questions. I can see for B, C, D, they are time-limited posts. The development of the Northern Metropolis will last for 10 to 20 years. So I believe these posts will still be needed after 5 years and 10 years. Why not create permanent posts then? We are trying to streamline procedures, right? We shouldn't have them renew these posts every 5 years. It can be quite heavy work as well. Permanent Secretary, thank you, Chair. The member suggestion is quite valid. We have some of the other directorate posts of the Northern Metropolis Co-ordination Office lapsing in March 2028. I believe at that time it will be a good timing for us to see whether we need to regularize the positions. Thank you, Mr. Aaron Bach, for the question. I actually have the same question. I do not need to seek clarification on this. Now, I want to ask if members support the administration to submit the proposal to establish a subcommittee for consideration. If there are no objections, this proposal is endorsed. This is the end of the discussion of this item. Let's move on to the next agenda item, any other business. If there is no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.